Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Tom Murphy Show. Today is June 22nd, 2016, and happy summer to everybody. And we're very happy to have as our guest tonight Legislator Catherin Parker from Westchester County. Catherin, it's nice to see you again.
It is great to see you, Tom.
And thanks for coming here on short notice, and I appreciate it.
I've been waiting for that phone call for a while. It was awesome that you asked me to come on the show.
Well, I'm glad.
I would have changed just about anything to do this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know what? Let's just jump right into something that's very topical right now. There was an article in the Journal. More exactly, there was a press release from the county executive that got turned into an article in the Journal News about affordable housing in the town of Mamaroneck, and in my opinion, it mischaracterized a lot of the situation. And I'll let you talk about it from your perspective. This is in the Cambion, the 10 affordable units that we are building.
So, here's the funny thing. I know the journalist that wrote that article, and I know that he's done some very good pieces.
Yes, he does. He has.
But he has a newborn, and I had to, after I read it this morning, I thought maybe this is just a situation of a little bit of lack of sleep, because he did refer to it as being in Larchmont, and
it's in the town of Mamaroneck.
It's in the town of Mamaroneck, and that was just the first thing that I took issue with. But yeah, it was really unfortunate. Kudos to the town of Mamaroneck officials who created 10 units of workforce housing. I mean, that's the good news for the residents here in Mamaroneck, that you have this wonderful opportunity for people that really contribute to the community. Whether it's, I'm just going to give some examples of who could possibly move into those rental units. But when you think about people working as teachers' aides, or working as an assistant librarian, or that are working for our public works department, or how about the people here at LMC-TV? There are opportunities for those people that are really making a real contribution to the community to now have housing that's affordable for them. And that's something that every community should be looking at doing with some of their building stock. And again, the officials, when they worked with the developer and said, here's what we want, if you want this land and you want to... They
got variances, right, the zoning change, yes.
We're going to create that, those 10 units of housing. I really think that was smart, really good planning, and again, great decision. Now the county, as you know, there's this housing settlement, and by the end of this year, we have to have 750 units built that would be counted towards our obligation to fulfill the settlement. And I think it's great that we are working very hard and diligently at trying to ensure that we get those 750 units built. And again, for municipalities to understand that there's plenty of opportunity here to create housing that would benefit millennials, seniors, again, workforce housing. There are so many people that could really benefit from having affordable housing stock, and it would actually benefit the community as a whole. Well, the county wanted to take your housing and take those 10 units and buy them outright and have them counted towards our settlement.
Yeah.
But the settlement's pretty clear. It does specify that any affordable housing that was created prior to the settlement wouldn't count. There is a certain exception if the developer were, for instance, to have run into some financial difficulty.
In distress, yes, exactly.
And then the county could resuscitate the project. But that wasn't, this case.
In the Cambion, no.
So this would have cost it would have cost the county $2.8 million, almost $3 million, to purchase those 10 units, and the Housing Monitor had rejected them when they were at 80% of the average median income, and the administration brought it back to us at 60 of average median income. And again, you know, we have somebody that comes to our meetings that works with the monitor. The monitor doesn't work for HUD, doesn't work for the county, but just, you know, oversees what the actions are that the county is doing. And I definitely was not reassured that these units were going to be counted. And so we had a vote, and the vote failed. And I think that that was obviously a good thing, because again, Mamaroneck still is getting their 10 units of affordable housing, but taxpayer money is not being spent on units that aren't going to count at the end of the day.
And you know what really bothered me? It bothered me because on a couple levels. The first thing that Ned McCormick said in the press release, he called it NIMBYism. Now, and that, I don't want to take credit for it, but because that predates me being on the Town of Mamaroneck Board. But the Town of Mamaroneck Board, you know, created workforce housing and, you know, affordable housing before it was required. So this isn't a case of NIMBYism.
No.
Not at all. And that, I felt that that was an insult to the Town of Mamaroneck, you know, the whole population.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think actually, you know, Mamaroneck has been really focused and forward on finding opportunities. This was done in 2006, where the original 9 units were created. Again, that predates the settlement. That was a really good, smart move. Then again, in 2012, when the developer came back to the town council and said, hey, we want to build 10 more units, the council at that time said, look, we'll give you the ability to build 10 more units, but then we want one more unit.
Right. So we got 10 all in all.
Absolutely. So I think Mamaroneck is well represented and has had, clearly, the town council has represented the people of Mamaroneck, and I think the people are pleased that there's an opportunity here to have, again, affordable housing, specifically designated workforce. I think is fantastic.
So to call it NIMBY is just a disingenuous distortion for political benefit. That's the only way I could characterize that. And you know what also, you know, bothers me about it is that, you know, Astorino and his crew, they would like to litigate this. And if they do litigate this, that means people can't move into those units while that's all going on. So, you know, it could take a couple of years. That means people who could be in apartments, who could be enjoying an affordable, nice place, aren't going to have that because he wants to have his political fight.
Yes, and unfortunately, our county executive and his administration have spent an awful lot of time and money over the last, you know, now 7 years, really fighting tooth and nail just about every single point of this settlement. And, you know, frankly, at this point, it is just a disservice to all the citizens of Westchester, not just Mamaroneck, that more of their dollars would end up in court. And again, you know, to your point about these units could, you know, people can fill them now. I mean, the Cambium is built, so people can move in. Why tie this up? And I really worried. I don't know that they were just trying to turn this into another soapbox to say, here's, you know, the bad federal government. But I feel strongly we have an obligation that we must fulfill by the end of this year. There's no time to waste. There's no time to you know, go to litigate. Let's just move on. You know, and now, actually, given the obligation of 750 units and considering the work here in the town, we'll have 10 more units of affordable housing for the county. So it's good.
And just, I like to point out for people who live in the village of Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and the town of Mamaroneck, who are communities that have done a lot for affordable housing in the aggregate. You know, we are being denied our community development block grants, basically so communities up county don't have to build affordable housing. So your district has, you know, carried their water as it is.
Absolutely. And when you think about the communities and the type of projects that have lost funding, and the organizations, you know, what used to be called the Hispanic Resource Center, you know, they had also received CDBG money.
Not a community resource center,
now the Community Resource Center.
We redid Mamaroneck Avenue with community development block grants. I mean, there's a lot. I could point to many things in this community that, you know, we got from that. And we don't get it now. But, you know, let's move on to another topic. But thank you. That was, you were successful in passing a law to ban heating oil number 4 and 6. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for those watching, they're probably like, what the heck is number 4 and 6
Yeah.
heating oil? Well, if you live in a single family home, you're not using it. This is the residual oil that's used in very large multi-family homes. I mean, when I say very large, I mean 10-story buildings. And it is called the residual oil because it is so thick, it's actually more like a tar. And it has to be constantly heated in order to be viscous enough to then be burned. And the product, and you know, if you're ever driving somewhere and you see a plume of black smoke coming out of
a chimney of a big building,
that is 4 and 6. And it is responsible for this very fine particulate matter in the soot, which ends up causing a lot of health difficulties for people that have, you know, when you think of asthmatics, people with compromised immune systems and lung disease. And there are instances where they've shown that this particulate matter, actually, the cases of SIDS in communities, sudden infant death syndrome, in communities that have many buildings that are using 4 and 6 go up. So the health, we heard from American Lung Association, we heard also from Dr. Philip Landrigan, who lives right here
in
Mamaroneck, who is one of the most, you know, noted experts on children's health. He had been head of the, for Mount Sinai, the children's health, and now he is the Dean of Global Health for New York Medical College.
And his wife used to work for the county health department.
Yes.
Mary.
And we actually also heard from our Board of Health agreed that this would be good, smart legislation to eliminate that. So it's phased out. The first trigger is July 31st, 2018, and it's done in the summer so that buildings that have that oil through the winter
Use up what they have.
Use it up, and then for number 4, which is actually a mixture of 6 and 2, and
so the higher the number, the thicker the.
Yes, yes, the worse it is, and so 4 is phased out July 31st, 2020.
Okay.
And it will really do a lot to clean up the air in Westchester County.
That's good, you know, because there's so many instances of kids these days having asthma and other respiratory diseases. So
Absolutely.
And now that passed unanimously.
It passed unanimously. And also the other interesting thing is when you think about hospitalizations because of these diseases, you know, we as a county, because of the way that Medicaid and our property tax is structured, we pay for a good deal of hospitalizations for these kind of illnesses in poorer communities. And so this will actually be a cost savings to county taxpayers also having this, keeping people healthier. It's a very good thing.
It's hard to argue with that one, Catherine. You know, let's talk about the county finances. It seems like we go through this act every year where, you know, at some point, Astrino says there's a shortfall and the sky is falling, and you know we have to take drastic measures. And so where are we with the county budget?
Well, our budget for 2016 was exactly as I had predicted, which is that there was the sale of a building in Yonkers called the Austin Avenue building, which has netted the county $17 million, and that's how this year's.
And they use that in the operating budget.
That is how we're balancing this budget. There's just no question about it. They didn't put it in the budget. It wasn't transparent. The average taxpayer, when looking at the budget, they didn't see that. But that was the only way that they were going to get a balanced budget. The unfortunate thing, though, is during the negotiations in December, and by the way, I didn't vote for the budget because it wasn't transparent. They weren't actually putting in this one-shot revenue stream, which I knew that they had to use, again, to balance the budget.